We're going to continue with our post-race press conferences here for the Daytona 500. We are now joined by David Wilson, who is the president of TRD. David, not only is this your first win at the Daytona 500 for Toyota, you guys did it in pretty magnificent fashion, finishing 1-2 with Toyotas, the closest margin of victory in the Daytona 500 history. And you also had 4 of the top 5 cars. Can you talk a little bit about what this means for Toyota?
This is very difficult for me to put in words. I cannot articulate adequately what this means to Toyota, but I'll start by saying it's our single biggest race in our company's history. And I'll put it in front of the Indy 500, which was a pretty special one back in 2003.
All right, we're going to open it up to questions now for David. We're going to start over here with Tom and then go to Jim.
Hi, David. Congratulations. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. You know, you've been clicking off in the last year the milestones. Won the All-Star race for the first time, won the Brickyard for the first time, won a first championship, and now Daytona. What's been the difference? What clicked that's all of a sudden made you guys big game winners?
You know, I've said this repeatedly lately. It's not a single thing that's clicked. When this was our 10th try at the Daytona 500. When we came into the sport, we struggled. We were not ready. We didn't know, and so it's taken time for us to collectively build an organization with our team partners that is capable of winning races and competing for championships. So, today was the quintessential, perhaps, example of what that teamwork has paid off in. And I am truly impressed, proud. I'm moved by what our drivers did, our teams did together. We had a plan. You know, when we went out in practice, I think it was Saturday afternoon, and the 5 Toyotas lined up. We were at the top of the timing and scoring, and we realized that our 5 cars working together could truly do something special on Sunday. But think about, how many plans you put in place before the race as momentous as this, and you can't control what you can't control, and most of the time, those plans go by the wayside. But our teams, our drivers, had the discipline and the trust in each other to execute that plan to a T. To come all the way to the white flag, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it was a race. So today was a special day for Toyota, and a special day for Joe Gibbs Racing and Furniture Row Racing, our new partner.
We're going to go to Jim and then to Kenny.
Jim Utter, Motorsports.com. David, Martin had made a couple comments both out on pit road and here about how important it was for him to get off the alliance with you guys, the move with Furniture Row to Toyota off to a good start, but also in integrating the work with Joe Gibbs Racing. Number one, could you just talk a little bit about how difficult or not that kind of transition was for the 78 in the off season going to Toyota? And I know it's only one race, but how do you feel the integration of their group working with Joe Gibbs Racing is doing?
Well, let me put it this way, Jim. We tried for years and years to build a collaboration between Joe Gibbs Racing and Michael Waltrip Racing, and we got better, and we started sharing more, but it really wasn't the type of collaboration that we wanted to see happen. At the outset, when we started talking to Furniture Row, when Joe Gibbs and Barney Visser and ourselves had dinner, I sensed that there was a level of trust in each other and a shared value structure that could allow this collaboration to actually succeed. So, having said that, on paper it all looked good, but it's up to the men and women, in both of those shops to execute that collaboration. It's very early. The off season was very stressful because we couldn't go to work until November 22nd. That was 90 days ago today. And what they were simply able to achieve to get to the Daytona 500 was truly impressive all by itself. So, so far so good. As far as today goes, let me be candid. You know, there's going to be a natural level of question amongst the 4 JGR drivers about this fifth team and driver, and it's not ingrained. It's not natural for any type of organization to share and to work together in that fashion. What Martin Truex did today was huge in saying that he wants to be on this team. And I'm incredibly impressed. I thought he won the race, actually. It wasn't until I saw the live timing and scoring that I realized that Denny won it.
We're going to go to Kenny, Jordan, and then Lewis. Can we get a microphone up to Kenny, please?
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Okay, Dave, you're here among friends. You can tell us. Who are you pulling for?
You guys have heard me say before, I don't care what Toyota wins as long as it's a Toyota. And we won, Kenny, and that's all I care about. And yeah.
Have you guys, I mean, you talk about, and just sort of along the lines of what Tom asked, with everything you all have accomplished, have you checked all the boxes now? Because you got the Brickyard, you got the championship, you now have the Daytona.
I don't think you ever stop checking the boxes, Kenny, but today, the Daytona 500, the Great American Race, was the only race that Toyota had not won. So we've checked that round of boxes, and we're going to take a few hours to try and soak this in and live in the moment. But then it's back to work tomorrow because we've got another season to start. You know, this is the plate race, and now we go to Atlanta where we've got to run our new open stuff and see how we stack up.
We're going to go to Jordan, Lewis, Bob, and then Marty.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. David, nothing is a given on a plate track, but it seemed like over the last 5-6 laps that a Toyota was going to win. Was there ever a moment as this was unfolding that you thought this might be our day, this is going to be our day, we're going to win at Daytona finally?
Jordan, I think it was probably around halfway that I thought we had a good shot, a reasonable shot, but I never took anything for granted. I think a lot of the drivers have talked this week about how the nature of racing here at Daytona and Talladega, for that matter, has changed. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I think it was much more of a variable, a wild card, a lottery. You use whatever cliche you want, but certainly over the past couple of years, our teams and drivers have proven that you have to have, in order to win this race, you have to have equipment strong enough to run up front and stay up front, and you have to have drivers who can manage a race and manage plate racing, and that is a special skill. It really has developed into that level of skill.
We're going to go to Lewis, Bob, and then Marty.
Over here, Dave, and congrats. 10 years, as you touched upon this, after being so dominant in IndyCar and the kart before, what was it humbling to come here and have to spend this amount of time to move up? And you were with TRD all those years.
It was incredibly humbling, Lewis, but we didn't expect to succeed either. I think obviously back in 2004, 2007 when we started Cup racing, our the fans were apprehensive. I think it was a polarizing issue with Toyota being here in the sport, and I think by our struggles, it somewhat humanized us and showed everybody that, hey, we're going to have to work as hard as anybody. Nothing comes easy. The level of competition that this sport has, amongst the teams and engineers is unlike anything we've ever seen, including kart and IndyCar.
We're going to go to Bob, Marty, Al, and Dustin.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I have two questions. The first is, you're still relatively new in this role, and you've won, in the last few months, championship in Daytona 500. So, should you retire?
Thanks for that, Bob. I hadn't thought of that. No, I am the one that's lucky enough to have had this opportunity. The team that TRD and Toyota have, I had almost my entire board of directors here to enjoy this win with us today, but we couldn't do it without the support of our organization. I could not do this. I work for 250 people at TRD, and my job is to make sure that they have the resources they need to compete, and that we have the relations and the trust and confidence of our team partners to compete. So I'm the lucky one to be up here.
And how far does this go the last few months, as far as, if there are, in a sport that's fairly cyclical, some tough times that that you've done it before and it's not something that's unattainable?
It certainly helps to come out of the gates like this, but I also realize that next, in some respects, the season really does start in Atlanta. I'm just as anxious right now as I was, the week before coming down here, because the beauty of the sport is you don't really know how you're going to stack up against your colleagues and your competitors until you run in anger on the racetrack. And so we demonstrated that our plate stuff is okay, is pretty good, but we won't know how we're going to stack up until we get to Atlanta for the majority of the season.
We'll go to Marty, and then Al, and then to Dustin.
David, congratulations. Marty Smith, ESPN. You've said all these reasons why it's great and important, but why is it the biggest race victory in the history of Toyota racing?
This is the greatest race in America, Marty, and for our company to have won it makes it that special. I think most of you have heard the reason that we came into this sport was to connect with the American fans, to help Americanize, to talk about how we build, every Camry in America. Camry is, I think was named the most American-made car. So I still remember what resonated my first time here in 2007, this moniker, the Great American Race. And as we were looking at, why we should come into NASCAR, that was a big part of it, to have a shot at winning the Great American Race and to be able to talk to the incredible, powerful fan base that NASCAR has. How do you quantify the value? It's truly stunning and special.
Go to Al.
Yeah, David, Al Pearson, Auto Week. Back in the beginning, back in the Bill Davis and Michael Waltrip and Red Bull days and all those guys, did you think it would take this long to get this good? Or, did you sort of figure it's going to be a long, tough slog?
We knew it was going to be a long, tough slog. I'll admit that I thought, within the first 5 years, we might have a shot at a championship. To be fair, that I think the first time I cried in the sport was 2010, when Denny came to Homestead with a 15-point lead, and we lost. Had he won, we would have made that 5-year target. But like in life, when you go through trials and you have the emotion and the heartache, when you do achieve a level of success, it truly is sweeter, and in perspective, truly is a wonderful thing to have.
We're going to go to Dustin, and then we'll stay in the back for the next question after that.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Because you talk about how momentous this win is, what does your mind go back to over the things that you've had to go through to get to this point to win this race, whether it's all the explanations to company executives why you weren't doing better or what happened, or what kind of that makes this even more emotional for you.
I'm not sure if I can pick one or other events, Dustin. You know, you can go back to 2007, the Daytona 500, our first Daytona 500. If you all recall, there was a bit of controversy within the Toyota camp. So it started there. You know, I still remember 2007. You know, our goal was to qualify for races. We didn't know if we could. And for, you know, for Bill Davis and Michael Waltrip and Red Bull, you know, we brought two new teams in the sport. It's heart-wrenching that none of those, you know, the freshman class are still with us. Honestly, that's not the end of the story that any of us wanted to see. But again, it goes to how difficult, how competitive the sport is. So it was a combination. You know, you remember the years where, you know, TRD, Toyota got a lot of heat. You know, we get our hands dirty, and I often say that, you know, sometimes that's not the most fun way to do it. Sometimes I want to say, just, you know, let the teams do everything and we'll support them as best we can, but that's not our culture. Our culture is about participating, learning, getting our hands dirty. So, you know, building a level of trust with Joe Gibbs and his family. You know, they took a chance on Toyota. I mean, look at where they were, 3-time champions, and they took a chance on us. The pressure that put on our shoulders to deliver was enormous, and I hate it that it's taken us this long. But again, back to the perspective point, you know, going through that together, you know, the bond that we have with Joe Gibbs and his family and his team is stronger than ever.
We'll take our final question in the back.
Donna Beth Weilandman, Benicia Herald. A long time ago, Bill France Sr. told my dad about some of the benefits in passenger cars that come directly from NASCAR research. What kind of developments are you seeing in Toyota that may have come about because of your participation in NASCAR?
Well, I always say that that the biggest benefit in participating in racing in motorsports is the people, and the engineers and the technicians that are involved in the sport, and the extreme pressure, the discipline that they work under, that develops them into better engineers, and those engineers go on to help support our company build better cars and trucks.
All right, David, thank you for joining us this evening. Congratulations to you and your colleagues at Toyota on the win today.
Thanks very much.